Okay, so this is the second in the series of videos I'm doing about essays that I had to write for English class. This one is about the book A Long Way Down by Nick Hornby. The book A Long Way Down by Nick Hornby is about four strangers, Martin, Maureen, Jess, and JJ, who all decide to kill themselves on New Year's Eve at London's most popular suicide spot, known as Topper's House. Martin is an ex-morning news host who lost his job, his family, and spent a while in jail after he slept with a 15-year-old. Maureen is a woman in her 50s who has spent the last 20 years of her life looking after her son Matty, who is a vegetable. Jess is a 19-year-old with severe emotional and psychological problems, whose boyfriend has just broken up with her for no real reason, as far as she can see. JJ is an American expat whose band has just broken up, and who just broke up with his girlfriend, the only reason he was in England. After hearing the other three characters tell their stories about why they want to kill themselves, JJ feels that his story is so inadequate that he lies and says he has a terminal disease. After the four of them meet, when they're about to kill themselves, they eat some pizza, which JJ brought. He was supposed to deliver it to a party in the building, and he thought he would use the opportunity to case out a suicide spot. And they talk about why they want to kill themselves. Eventually they all decide not to kill themselves that night, and they go with Jess to help her find Chaz, her ex-boyfriend, and the answers that she is looking for. The rest of her story takes place over the remainder of the night, and the repercussions of that night's events over the following weeks. An important theme in the book is the idea that sometimes, if not most times, suicide is not the fault of a suicidee being crazy or delusional, but the reasonable and understandable outcome of years of universal abuse. After reading suicide inquests online, in which the coroners always write it off by saying something like, the balance of his mind was disturbed, Martin says, and then you read the story about the poor bastard. His wife was sleeping with his best friend, he'd lost his job, his daughter was being killed in a road accident some months before. Hello, Mr. Coroner, you not home? Sorry, but there's no disturbed mental balance here, my friend. I'd say you got it just right. While Martin continues to ponder why people actually kill themselves, he says, bad thing upon bad thing upon bad thing, until you can't take it anymore. They resort to the nearest multi-story car park and the family hatchback with a length of rubber tubing. Surely that's fair enough. Surely the coroner's inquest should read, he took his own life after sober and careful contemplation of the fucking shambles it had become. Martin's final thought on the subject is, not once did I read a newspaper report that convinced me that the deceased was off the old trolley. The Manchester United forward, who was engaged to the current Miss Sweden, had recently achieved a unique double. He is the only man ever to have won the FA Cup and an Oscar for Best Actor in the same year. The rights to his novel had just been bought for an undisclosed sum by Steven Spielberg. He was found hanging from a beam in the stables by a member of the staff. It doesn't happen. Even though Martin's thoughts on the particular subject may not be completely correct, I do agree with them, although only to a certain extent. For some people, killing themselves is a spur-of-the-moment, non-rational thing, probably prompted by something actually being wrong with them. For others, it's the only possible answer. It's well thought out and is prompted by nothing more than slightly skewed logic. My favourite character in A Long Way Down is the American expat JJ. In his first chapter, JJ introduces himself by doing something that seems like something that I would do. He says, okay, you don't know me, so you'll have to take my word for it, but I'm not stupid. I read the fuck out of every book that I can get my hands on. I like Faulkner and Dickens and Vonnegut and Brendan Behan and Dylan Thomas. He tells people about the intellectual things he likes. He does this straight away to make sure that people don't think for a second that he is stupid. He's fine with seeming annoying, just not stupid. This is a trait that I definitely share. I'll bring up obscure references to old TV shows, movies, books, and bands. I'll quote Hitchens and Dawkins off the top of my head. I'll do things like this up to, and sometimes well beyond, the point where it becomes annoying. This may explain why I'm so bad at making friends, and so good at making people pissed off. JJ's thoughts on suicide are very different from Martin's. Whilst Martin thinks about suicide very practically as the logical conclusion of all the crap we lived, JJ thinks about it in a much more emotional way. When he talks about people who kill themselves, it's people like Cobain, Hemingway, Plath, and Wolfe. people who he says were too sensitive for the world. To JJ, suicide is an idea that he relates with great artists. This leads to a romanticizing of the idea of killing oneself. When he sees Martin, Jess, and Maureen about to kill themselves, he gets pissed off. A middle-aged woman who looks like someone's cleaning lady, a shrieking adolescent lunatic, and a talk show host with an orange face. It didn't add up. Suicide wasn't invented for people like this. It was invented for people like Virginia Woolf and Nick Drake, and me. Suicide is supposed to be cool. One of my favourite parts about JJ is the way that he feels about his old band, Big Yellow. When he talks about the music, when he talks about any music, but especially Big Yellow, he talks about how people who listened to it felt a genuine connection to the music. This is something that is very important to me in the music that I listen to. I want to feel like the person making the music made it with me in mind, and that is the type of experience that JJ is talking about. Because all you need to know is this: we had something that no one else ever had. Maybe some people used to have it before my time. The Stones, the Clash, the Who, but no one I've ever seen. JJ is one of the few musicians who cares about more than just ticking album sales. Because when Big Yellow played live, it was like some sort of Pentecostal service. Instead of applause and whistles and hoots, there'd be tears and teeth grinding and speaking in tongues. We saved souls. A few lines later, JJ reveals that music was not just important to the fans, it was also extremely important to him personally. Those shows were my reason for living, and now I know that this is not just a figure of speech. Nick Hornby is a fantastic and funny author who has a way of words that I can only fucking dream of. He can also, unlike me, write characters that aren't exactly like him. This is the first novel of his that I've read, but I was extremely excited when I saw this book on my dad's bookshelf because I previously listened to and enjoyed an album that he wrote with my favourite musician Ben Folds. As soon as I have more money, I'll be going out to buy more of his books. A long way down, far past my expectations for a book about suicide, it managed to explore important themes like the importance of friends and family, why people commit suicide, and other serious things, while still being extremely funny and wonderfully profane. If I knew how to write a review of a book, I would give this book as many stars as I was allowed to.